Hello everyone, I am Be Better Gamer. Welcome to Be Better Gamer Wrestling. This channel is dedicated to the classic series of N64 wrestling games developed by Aki Corporation, and I am bringing you another WWF No Mercy Hardcore Championship Let's Play. I am going to be playing as the innovator of the 24/7 Hardcore Championship rule, and that's Crash Holly. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you check out all my other Let's Plays. And, so far, I'm almost done wrapping up the Hardcore Championship Let's Play. In this one, I am doing Crash Holly. You have to start as champion, so I've already given him the title. And you pretty much got to win all the matches until you get to the APA. And you got to refuse their offer for assistance, for protection. And then you got to lose that match to them, and then you got to win the rest. So that's Crash Holly. That's his path I'm going to be taking. And Crash Holly, again, he's one of, just like Hardcore Holly, which was my last Let's Play about, he's one of those guys that I never really played much as in WWF No Mercy back in the day. I probably have only a few matches of experience with Crash Holly. Always enjoyed watching him on screen, and I'll talk about a bit about that in a second. But in game, if anything, I probably played against the Holly cousins the most. Never really used Crash Holly often in tag team matches. I probably used them once. Again, it's just their moveset. Both Hardcore Holly and Crash Holly are very generic, so it doesn't appeal to my style. He does have that jumping, spinning DDT that I used to love doing as Rey Mysterio Jr. back in WCW NW Revenge, but that's about it. What better way to start this Let's Play than against Mark Henry, super heavyweight, because Crash Holly, he billed himself, or he was billed as a super heavyweight, allegedly over 400 pounds. Him and Hardcore Holly, when they would team up, they were allegedly over 800 pounds because they were super heavyweights. And I was immediately intrigued by Crash Holly when he debuted. He was introduced as the cousin of Hardcore Holly, Bob Holly, who I talked about in my last Let's Play, transitioning from the Bob Holly to Hardcore Holly character. But this isn't the first time I'm doing a Crash Holly Let's Play. I talked about Crash Holly in my very first WWF No Mercy Let's Play series when I tackled the Light Heavyweight Championship. I gave Crash Holly a Light Heavyweight Championship run because he was Light Heavyweight Champion at one point. But I think most people will remember Crash Holly for the Hardcore Championship. When he won the Hardcore Championship, he was the first one to declare the title to be 24/7. He will defend it anytime, any place, anywhere. Any place, anywhere, I guess is the same word. Against anyone, no matter the situation. And I don't think people really knew what to expect from that when he declared that. I know I didn't. I was like, what does he mean by that 24/7? It's just Raw and SmackDown. Like, what is he talking about? And sure enough, what that meant was that we're going to be seeing, here you go, jump swinging DDT a la Rey Mysterio Jr. At least you can win matches easily with that move. Very quick to pull out. Not that powerful, actually, in terms of other moves. I don't think it has like an S ranking or anything like that, but still, it's a fun move to do. And I didn't know what to expect from the 24/7. I don't know if a lot of people knew what to expect. It really was the first of its kind, I assume, of a title being declared that it could be defended 24/7. What does that mean? Like, how would we know if it's being defended? And sure enough, they answered that when we were treated to a clip of Crash Holly at the Newark, New Jersey airport getting his bags at the bag pickup line, and he was attacked by Pete Gas and the Mean Street Posse. And Pete Gas actually ended up winning the title because he had a ref with him, and the ref counted 1, 2, 3 from the sneak attack. But amidst all the chaos and craziness at the airport, Crash Holly was able to get the championship back from Pete Gas, and that was the birth of the 24/7 Hardcore Championship rules. And the title was pretty much 24/7 until it was merged with or unified, I should say, with the Intercontinental Championship, which I talked about in my Rob Van Dam Let's Play episode, because Rob Van Dam, as IC champion, unified it with Tommy Dreamer, who was the hardcore champion at the time. And, I've talked about this quite a bit in my other Let's Play episodes, my other Hardcore Championship Let's Play episodes. I think the Hardcore Championship, as fun and entertaining as it was, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed a lot of the 24/7. I enjoyed watching Crash Holly taking on people in a theme park or in a, Chuck E. Cheese type, place. It was funny. It was silly. It was very creative if you think about it. Comedy is a very tricky thing. I think people underestimate comedy in general in life. I have a background in theater and in acting. I'm not saying I'm a great actor or anything. I'm just saying I went to school for it. Maybe one day I'll be a great actor. But, I think from learning when you're doing acting and when you're learning how to act, quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes, you can't see it. From my experience, comedy is much more difficult to do than drama. I mean, anyone can stand on stage and emote, be serious, or pretend to be sad, or yell and be angry. That's easy. That's easy to do because those are self-fulfilling actions, okay? To comedy, it's not a self-fulfilling action. The goal for comedy is to elicit a response, is to get someone to laugh or to chuckle, like, that was, or say, that was funny, I get it. You know what I mean? And the worst reaction you can get when you're doing comedy is nothing. No one laughs, no one says anything, no one says that was funny. If anything, they say, oh, that was not funny. It's very difficult to do because comedy, you need timing, you need delivery, you need to know how to tell a joke or perform a joke, you need to how to be physically funny, which is extremely difficult to do, physical comedy. So when you take comedy and you apply that to wrestling, which in itself is a difficult act, being a wrestler, not just physically is it insanely hard to do, but also wrestling is all about eliciting responses. It's all about getting the audience to cheer or to boo, not because the match is bad or because they hate the wrestlers because they suck or they like the wrestlers because they're good looking, but because they're invested in the story that's going on in the ring. They want wrestler A to beat wrestler B because they see wrestler B as being a jerk and he's hurting wrestler A, who's a nice guy. You know what I mean? There's stories to be told, and there's complexities in those stories, in the moves you do, the submission holds, the facial expressions. Now let's add comedy to that. When it's hard enough to try to get a response from people when you're wrestling, hey, let's add comedy to that. And I feel like comedy in wrestling is always a very divisive subject. And Crash Holly, I want to say, was really good at it. Crash Holly had the facial expressions. He had the delivery of the physical comedy. I mean, just the way he looked and presented himself, his size, his stature, how he carried himself, the whole context of it all, being a super heavyweight, and obviously everyone's looking at him, you're like, you're not a super heavyweight, you're a small guy. He actually wasn't even that small. He was 5'11", 212 pounds. I mean, that's bigger than me. I'm not 5'11", I'm 5'7". So I'm definitely way undersized compared to Crash Holly. But still, in WWE, the land of the giants, as they always nickname it, it helped with this character who was trying to not wow people with his performance in the ring, but get an emotional response, to get people to laugh, to get people to cheer for him because they're rooting for the underdog, because the situations he's in is silly and it's stupid, but at the same time, you kind of want to see him pull out on top. And, today you have a lot of comedy wrestling going on in the indie scenes. In modern day WWE, I think they still struggle with comedy. It's one of those things where you just gotta be naturally good at it in terms of wrestling. I mean, just maybe even real life comedy. It's hard to teach someone to be funny. It's hard to, present something funny unless you know how to deliver it. And you can multiply that exponentially with wrestling, And I think that's why people get so upset when they try to see comedy in WWE or in other places, because most of the time the guys doing it or the context of it just isn't that funny. So it's kind of a waste of time. You know what I mean? There's very few guys nowadays that can pull off comedy in WWE. I say if they can, let them. You know what I mean? Guys like Colt Cabana, even in WWE right now, who they got? They got R-Truth and Goldust. They have a little bit of a comedy routine going. Darren Young is pretty funny and the stuff he's doing, although they're transitioning more into a serious storyline, which is great because I want to talk about Crash Holly in a bit about that, about transition, my idea of him transitioning into a serious storyline, or at least what I thought the direction of Crash Holly was going to be. But yeah, on the indie scene, you know, guys like Dalton Castle, you know, his whole routine, he takes it seriously, but it's presented but it's a comedic bit. You know what I mean? We're supposed to laugh at it and think it's funny. And I think that's the key. I mean, when the Holly cousins were introduced, I think what was funny about it was that here's this small, you know, basically duplicate version of Hardcore Holly. Looks just like him, dresses like him, you know, same attire, Holly, you know, cousin. And, you know, they would fight and bicker because Crash Holly, he would say something or do something, and Hardcore Holly would look at him like, shut up, you idiot, you stupid idiot, as Jericho would say. And then they would start fighting, and that was brilliant, because you had Hardcore Holly being the straight man and Crash Holly being the comedic man, and just the chemistry there worked. And I think it really intrigued me because, you know, again, comedy was something that in the early WWE era was very much catered to like little kids, you know what I mean? Like little kid comedy. And even me as a little kid, I was like, this is not funny. I don't want to see Doink the Clown. That's not funny to me. Yeah, you know, like I may be 9, but that's still not funny. Like, so it was a breath of fresh air, and it also helped add to the Hardcore Holly character, which again, you know, I was never crazy about the Hardcore Holly character. If anything, I think Crash Holly being paired up with Hardcore Holly was great because it made Crash Holly seem that much better in a way, because he was the breath of fresh air. He was new. He was different. He offered something. He offered character and charisma and personality that, quite frankly, the Hardcore Holly character didn't really have. And I think that was what was the most intriguing thing about Crash Holly, and I enjoyed him when he first debuted. So he would win the Hardcore Championship. He would be the first he actually defeated Test on an episode of SmackDown on February 24th, 2000. And he would declare the 24/7 rule. Hardcore Holly would eventually hold the Hardcore Championship 22 times. He's the second most reigning Hardcore Champion under Raven, who I also did a Let's Play for. I also did a Raven Call episode about, because you have to create Raven to play him in this game. And over those 22 reigns, he's only held the title for a total number of 88 days. Again, because of the Hardcore Championship rule, not many people held the championship for longer than 100 days. You know, you would win the title, someone would attack you, they would have a referee, they would pin you, and then they would get the title, and then you would sneak attack them and get it back. That was the formula for the Hardcore Championship. Very few exceptions to the rule. I talked about it in the Undertaker Let's Play. I talked about it in the Rob Van Dam Let's Play, which I also had to create a wrestler for Rob Van Dam. You know, there's very few exceptions, guys. Obviously, no one's going to try to sneak attack Undertaker or Rob Van Dam. You know, or there was times when the rule was waived, such as when Shane McMahon challenged Steve Blackman. You know, he beat him for the Hardcore Championship, so Steve Blackman wanted a rematch, and Mick Foley waived the 24/7 rule so that Shane McMahon couldn't get out of it. But 22 wins. 8 of those title reigns came from house shows, so the rest were televised on Raw, SmackDown, you know, maybe Sunday Night Heat. I'm not too sure if he ever defended on Sunday Night Heat, but, you know, pay-per-views. And his last Hardcore Championship victory came on August 19th episode of Raw, which was 1 week before the title got unified. So pretty much all the way until the very end, Crash Holly had some sort of influence and impact on the Hardcore Championship. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, when people think of the Hardcore Championship, Crash Holly definitely comes to mind because of the 24/7 rule, and a lot of people associate him with that. He was only in the WWE from 1999 to 2003, so he was only in the WWE for about 4 years, and he was released in June of 2003, floated briefly in NWA, I mean not NWA, but TNA wrestling, and as Mad Mikey, but unfortunately he passed away that same year that he was released by the WWE. In November of 2003, he was actually found dead, sadly, in the house of Stevie Richards. Stevie Richards, fellow WWE wrestler, Hardcore Championship alumni, ECW alumni. It was believed to be an overdose. They ruled it a suicide. He was having a really bad year. He was getting divorced from his wife at the time. He was released from the WWE, and maybe he had some other personal demons that were already bothering him, which led to him ODing. So very sad, very tragic end to Crash Holly's life. He was 32 years old. And I bring that up, I bring up Crash Holly's because not only was it like just terrible that, he died and only had such a brief WWE run, and we didn't really get to see him do anything else wrestling related. We didn't really get to see the potential of Crash Holly, because I do think Crash Holly was a great worker in the ring, and that's another thing that interested me about Crash Holly when I would see him come out with Hardcore Holly, is that I enjoyed watching his matches. I enjoyed watching his matches with Dean Malenko during his light heavyweight championship feuds. I thought he was a great worker in the ring. Again, I thought he had great chemistry with Hardcore Holly. He brought personality to that team, and that's not easy to do with Hardcore Holly there. And when Molly Holly was introduced, that was such a great dynamic, and they were a great team. And the way he was able to work with almost everyone, like, it was a shame he never got a little bit more chances to work with other higher class people. But Crash Holly, I think, was a great worker and probably could have made a good name for himself after WWE, and maybe even return to WWE at one point. But we will never know. We'll never know, because he passed away at the very, very young age of 32. I just turned 30 last month. And I'm just getting started, you know what I mean? I feel like I'm just getting started. I'm not like, unfortunately, I'm not one of those young 30-year-olds who has all these Olympic gold medals or all these NBA championships. But I feel like I'm doing pretty well for my life. I got we're doing pretty well. I'm married. I got kids. I got this YouTube channel that I'm trying to get off the ground. Just reached 650 subscribers. So hey, I'm doing okay. I'm getting started. But to think that like in 2 years my whole life would be over, like, that's scary to me. You know what I mean? So it's very unfortunate. Wrestler deaths are never really a great subject to talk about, but they were really rampant. They've always been there. It was not like there was just like 1 year or two where everyone was dying, but they've always been around, and it's very sad to hear about. But just when I read that age, I forgot he was that young when he died, and it just strikes a chord with me even more now, because in 2003, that was 13 years ago. So I was 17 when he passed. It resonates much more now. It's crazy to think about. But so I just had to lose against the APA, and now when you don't fight the APA, it definitely moves the Hardcore Championship along. The APA handicap match and the Hardcore Championship, it's such a time sink. It really is, because for some reason you can't just like not do your special once and then get it over with. For some reason, like the handicap matches, they just take much longer because you're dividing your time. So you're hitting one guy once and then you're hitting the other guy, and you gotta really be. I think they spiked the difficulty level too. I learned when I first started this Let's Play channel. Probably even I said it in my Crash Holly light heavyweight Let's Play. I used to talk about I'm playing on the expert difficulty, because I always thought if you just had it on the expert difficulty, it would influence the championship mode. And then someone in the comments was like, hey, in the guide, and also if you press Z in the menu, it tells you that the difficulty level doesn't affect the championship mode. The championship mode has its own individual difficulty for each matches. So I do think that the handicap matches with the APA, they feel like they're on expert. They have to be on expert, especially when you face them at the end of certain sequences, or like when you face Vince McMahon and Shane McMahon at the end of certain story paths. Those definitely feel like expert handicap because it just takes a longer time to beat them, and it's such a time sink. But saying that, I do want to talk about something. I'm never going to stop talking about how I think the 24/7 rule was a good and a bad. I'm just never going to stop talking about it because, we got to learn from the past. We got to learn why championships worked and didn't work. And, especially going forward, here we are, we're in a new age of WWE, the new era. And, we got the Universal Championship being created on SummerSlam. Who knows what other championships we're going to see coming into SmackDown. You got to believe they're going to add a Cruiserweight Championship once the Cruiserweight Classic is over. I think my prediction is that the winner of the Cruiserweight Classic will be declared the Cruiserweight Champion, and then we'll see him on Raw. Hopefully it's Kota Ibushi or Zack Sabre Jr. Those are my two picks. But with that, you have to, also look at WWE has had a multitude of championships. So many championships, but I think the Hardcore Championship is special because I think it's one of the championships that definitely, what's the word I'm looking for? It didn't live up to its potential. I didn't want every match to be hardcore, blood and guts. You know what I mean? Everyone getting hit with barbed wire baseball bats and everyone being bloody and everything. That's not what I wanted from the championship. Like I mentioned in the Rob Van Dam championship, I just wanted the Hardcore Championship to be taken and contested like a serious title, like it meant something. Like you had to earn this championship, much like any other championship. Yeah, it wasn't a world championship, but that doesn't mean world championship contenders were never going to dip their toes in the Hardcore Championship pool. And when Rob Van Dam held the title, he elevated it to the heights that the championship never reached after that. And even Undertaker holding the championship meant a lot, beating Rob Van Dam. Crash Holly, the 24/7 rule started out as a gimmick, and it was funny. I laughed. You laughed. We all laughed. We all had a good time watching the 24/7. I'm not going to lie. It was silly. It was great. But there was a part of me while I was watching this, it was like, okay, when are they going to flip the switch? When are they going to change it? When is Crash Holly really going to start to believe that he's a super heavyweight and it's going to backfire on him? And I don't just mean that how he was being attacked everywhere he went by the Mean Street Posse dressing up in clown suits and stuff, but I mean that, one day he was going to rub someone the wrong way, like let's say maybe a Big Show or Undertaker or some actual legit heavyweight / super heavyweight, and they just wreck him. I mean, just hurt him bad. And it changes him in a way where he really starts to believe that he's a super heavyweight and he can beat these guys fairly, one-on-one, no sneak attacks, going in the ring. I'm going to stop this guy because I'm Crash Holly. I'm the giant killer. You know what I mean? It's something that I would equate to what I wanted to see with Crash Holly. I would equate to what they did in ECW with Spike Dudley. I loved every time Spike Dudley came out in ECW. Now, here was a guy who, even in ECW, and ECW wasn't the land of the giants like WWE, but it never, the undersized guys never felt undersized. But here's Spike Dudley, okay, who is more like my size. He's 5'7". He would come out and he seemed undersized even in ECW. And it's like, okay, how can we take this guy seriously? Okay, he comes out, he's smaller than everyone else. There's no way he's going to survive here in ECW. The E stands for extreme. It doesn't stand for entertainment like WWE. It makes sense Crash Holly would be portraying the character he is because, it was a very entertainment aspect of WWE. It was very entertaining storyline. ECW didn't do that. What was entertaining about Spike Dudley was watching this small guy come out and attack the big guys and actually put up a fight and actually beat them every once in a while, because yeah, he wasn't the strongest, he wasn't even the fastest for his size, but he had determination, he had passion, he had an unbreakable will, he had a seemingly unbreakable body. The guy would get thrown through tables, he would get thrown from inside the ring to outside the ring into the crowd and be crowd surfed around the audience. I mean, there was nothing you could do to Spike Dudley to keep him down. Yeah, you would beat him, you would pin him, you would destroy him, but then a week later he'd be right back. They would hit Highway to Hell and he'd be coming back with his little broken Dudley glasses, and you just loved it. And he had a finisher that was protected, the acid drop finisher. It was basically like a diamond cutter springboard off the turnbuckle. Very cool move, but like, he would win with that move, you know what I mean? If he managed to hit you with the acid drop, you were not kicking out, and that was the key. Crash Holly didn't have that. And I wish he did. I wish he had something that, allowed us to believe him when he believed that he was this super heavyweight. It would have just taken everything that much over the edge. You know what I mean? It would just that little push, and it could have pushed the 24/7 title right back on the track as being a seriously contested title. I think WWE didn't really know what to do. I talked about this in my Mankind episode. I think WWE didn't really know what to do after they created the Hardcore Championship, because it really was a prop for Mankind and advancing him to the heavyweight title picture. With being a gift from Vince McMahon, and and what it meant to him and what it symbolized for the Mankind character and all that. But after that, here they had this belt, and it's like, all right, what do we do? Okay, let's do these hardcore matches. Let's have guys who we don't really use. Let's take Allison, let's take Boss Man, let's take Hardcore Holly, let's take all these guys. Let's give them something to do now. But then now, people are getting interested in these hardcore matches. People are liking these hardcore matches because these guys are doing what, are putting it all out there, putting their bodies on the line to really give people great, entertaining matches. And they kind of shot themselves in the foot with making it a joke, because I think a lot of the guys took it seriously. I mean, that's how I perceived it when I would watch these matches, and even when I would go back and watch these matches. When they're going backstage, they're not hitting each other with rubber chickens. You know what I mean? They're not hitting each other with, silly things. That didn't happen until after the 24/7 rules implemented. But those early hardcore matches, these guys were fighting for TV time. That's what they really were. They were fighting to get noticed. And I feel like you could have transitioned that to the story of Crash Holly. Crash Holly could have represented that, because here he is. He's a quote-unquote undersized guy, even though he's 5'11", and so he would have qualified for the cruiserweight tournament now. Yes, but like, come on, like, there's so many guys who are his size. But that was the point. You didn't really make it if you were that size. Very rare. Shawn Michaels, he was a once in a lifetime performer. They couldn't deny him. So there's certain people they couldn't deny at that time who were that size, but everyone else they kind of just swept under the rug and gave him something to do, but always kept them at bay. And I feel like with Crash Holly, we could have gotten this storyline where he finally realized, when he's getting dominated by actual super heavyweights, when they're hurting him, when he's limping to the ring every time and taking these brutal shots or getting put through tables, and it's awakening this unbreakable spirit in him. He's like, no, I'm the hardcore champion. I created this 24/7 title, and damn it, like, no one's gonna take that from me. Because the reason why he has to walk around telling everyone that he's a super heavyweight is because he has to believe it enough so that everyone else believes it, so that he doesn't get held back in WWE, so that he doesn't get dismissed because of his size, because he's able to go out there and do great things. Very symbolic, very fantastical idea, but that's something I always wish WWE would do, and they still don't do it. And it bothers me because I get hesitant, I get nervous when I see something like the Cruiserweight Classic, which is something I want to be 100% excited for and love every second of it. And I do. Oh my God, the matches for the Cruiserweight Classic, they're great. I love every episode so far. I love the presentation and how they're focusing on people's styles and their countries of origin. I love it. It gives a combat approach to WWE, to wrestling, which I felt like they should have been going in this direction years ago. But what makes me nervous about it is that they've never had a good history with quote-unquote cruiserweights. Even now, you look at Daniel Bryan, again, a once-in-a-lifetime performer. He would have been in the Cruiserweight tournament, technically. But after Daniel Bryan, who did we get? We got Roman Reigns, okay? We got John Cena again. Randy Orton. These were the world champions after Daniel Bryan. Brock Lesnar. So again, we still haven't gotten that sea change. In NXT, we get it. Finn Balor, he's not called a cruiserweight, but he's definitely not 6'6", 300 pounds. You know what I mean? Finn Balor, IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion over in Japan, but he definitely started to move up in the heavyweight ranks. And they think nothing of it in Japan. They actually acknowledge it and embrace it. It's like, here's this Junior Heavyweight wanting to move up to the heavyweight division. Cool, let's do it. Let's see how we do. Kota Ibushi, who's the golden star of the Cruiserweight Classic tournament right now, had a fantastic match with Shinsuke Nakamura a couple of years back at Wrestle Kingdom. Nakamura was always considered a heavyweight, but Nakamura is also not like a huge guy. So you can have Kota Ibushi and Nakamura in the same ring and not even think about weight class because you just have two amazing performers. I think WWE has always focused on size and weight, and if you're going to focus on size and weight, then you have to use it to your advantage. You have to take those smaller guys and give them opportunities to succeed against larger guys in the appropriate context. It can't always be silly. It can't always be a miracle win. It can't always be, it has to just be like, this is a small guy you can't keep down. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like the old saying, like, never undersize. Never undersize. Never underestimate the size of the dog. You know what I mean? In the fight or whatever. I don't really know the saying, how it goes, apparently. But you shouldn't underestimate someone's size because of their skill, because of their determination, because of their will. Just because they're smaller than so-and-so, that doesn't mean they're not going to win. It's a fixed, program. It's not UFC. Yeah, if you have Brock Lesnar having an MMA match with a guy the size of Crash Holly, chances are Brock Lesnar is going to win unless the guy is super quick and super fast and he can put him in the ankle lock. But even then, it's like Brock Lesnar's got all that size and muscle. It's going to be kind of hard to do. You have to be an Olympic caliber athlete to do that. But it's WWE, it's wrestling, and I always kind of wish they went in that direction with Crash Holly, because again, WWE didn't really have a lot of light heavyweight wrestlers, and I liked Crash Holly. And I thought it was great that we actually got to see someone who was good with comedy in the ring, but then, they could have taken him to a place that I feel like a lot of fans would have appreciated more because of his background. I was like, all right, yeah, we're done laughing at Crash Holly. Now let's see what he has to offer. Now let's see the seriousness of it all. And if he became this determined, overzealous, passionate, no, I am a super heavyweight, I will, even if people are going to beat me up, I will always keep coming back. That would have made him a formidable hardcore champion. And that actually would have made people not fearing him, but not underestimate him when they try to attack him. Because if you attack Crash Holly, he's going to come back at you. And he won't quit until he's either dead or he has that hardcore championship back. So, but, unfortunately, the past is in the past. That's just my crazy, fantasy, post-fantasy booking from years ago. But it's never too late. We can still see a story like that these days. So hopefully we will. Hopefully the memory of the legacy of Crash Holly will never die. Way too young to leave us. But, he made an impact. I think people will always remember him because of what he did with the Hardcore Championship 24/7. So that's why I was excited to do this Hardcore Championship. I hope you like this episode. Very fun for me to do. Very fun for me to watch some Crash Holly and reminisce. I enjoyed Crash Holly for how briefly he was with us, and I hope I did him honor. I hope I did him respect for this episode. So if you like this episode, you know what to do. You've been on YouTube before. Like, comment, subscribe. Sorry for the delay. I'm a little bit behind. I'm trying to get my ass back in gear. But, you know, until then, until my next video, I hopefully won't wait too long to get to it. I am Be Better Gamer. As always, keep watching all the wrestling. Thank you.